15 years, that 62 lump sum would grow to be another 176,000 by the time they die. You understand? Any questions on that? Cost number 3 is they lose the death benefit. Now, the best way to demonstrate that is this. If I make his projected life horizon 1 year after the policy lapsed, so in this case he's 52, he bought a 15-year policy. If I kill him in this example, this calculator, at age 68, he dies 1 year after the policy lapsed. That'd be kind of the worst thing possible, right? Okay. Had I died last year, they got 2.3. I died this year, they got nada. Everybody with me? Now what we want to see is what is cost number 3. What is the cost of not having the death benefit? $2.3 million. Now, what could mom have done with $2.3 million? She could have done several different things. Number 1, $2.3 million, had she gotten it, could have been a supplement to her retirement income. She could have taken retirement income off of it, right? Option number 2, Louise, let's say that she doesn't need the death benefit. Couldn't she have gifted assets to the kids and used the death benefit to pay the gift tax? Do you understand that? What's the gift limit today? $14,000. So if I want to gift more than 14, I got to pay a what? Gift tax. The gift tax rate is typically what? 46%. Around 50%, we'll say. Okay? So, in this example, I could gift $5.6 million, Jason, and use the death benefit to pay the gift tax. My insurance is out of my estate, the assets are out of my estate. What's the best estate plan? I didn't even need an attorney to do that. Maybe mom doesn't trust the kids, and she says, you know what? I'm going to keep that money invested, and I'm going to continue to grow it at 6%. Well, if she lived to 85, she would inherit, or she would pass on to the kids $6.2 million. So she could spend it, she could gift it, she could invest it, or some combination of the 3. Everybody got it? Well, if I look at step number 3 here, and I add all this together, the premiums, the lost interest, over a lifetime of 176, plus 6.2 potentially of losing the death benefit, we've got, as you see in the bottom right-hand corner, a potential mistake of $6.4 million off of a $250 or $2,500 Wiley term premium. Now here's something I want you to write down. I don't ever want my clients to have something in their model where if they get what they want, result is they lose. So think about that. Mr. Ms. Client, why would you ever have anything in your model where if you get what you want, the result is you lose? Let me say that again. Mr. Ms. Client, why would you ever have anything in your model where if you get what you want, the result is you lose? That makes no sense to me. So think about that in light of term. Does everybody want to live? If they get what they want, Jason, and live, they have lost potentially millions of dollars. There aren't too many things a client can do in their model that has the potential to be that big of a mistake. Bring on Dave Ramsey. Okay? Everybody got it? Does everybody understand the true cost of term? They lose the premiums, they lose the interest on the premium, and they lose the death benefit. Every time, millions of dollars of loss. Any questions on that? Okay. So now, what we do is we got a client totally confused. If I die prematurely, I want 2.3. I thought I was going to do it in term, but now that I see that, I don't want to do it in term. Well, you should have insurance that benefits you for what you want to happen is you get to what? Live, right? So I got to teach you the living benefits of permanent insurance. Now, grab a blank model. If you don't do anything else, you just work on this right here, what I'm getting ready to tell you. Okay? You will have very impactful discussions with your clients. Okay? But what I want you to put at the top of it, top of this model, is I want you to put Whole Life 101. This is the basics of whole life insurance. What I find, just like the lady in Miami, she said, I hate life insurance. You know why she said that? Because she didn't understand how it worked. She didn't know Whole Life 101. But when she was taught, guess what? She said, I want this. Okay? So let's talk about how we would do that. Bear with me a second. I thought it was on. Okay. Let's talk about whole life insurance. Whole life insurance is one of the few things on the model that has both an impact on the defensive side of the model and the offensive at the same time. There are a lot of products out there that are earmarked for just defense, and there's a lot, though, that are just marked for offense. Whole life insurance is one of the few that basically impacts both the defensive and offensive side of the model. That's what point number one is. Okay? Whole life insurance makes other assets and financial strategies perform better. One of the things that I tell clients all the time is whole life insurance is like salt. Maury, I would never ask a client to sit down and eat a plate of salt. Wouldn't be good for them, wouldn't taste good. Okay. Well, on the other hand, what I see is people who are building this meal of their model for retirement, et cetera, that has no seasoning. Whole life insurance is like the salt that makes everything else in the model they're doing better. Does that make sense? Whole life insurance, we talked about it. Accumulation, distribution, and preservation. It's one of the few things a client can do that better equips the client in all three phases of their financial life. It's one of the most valuable tools that they can own in the model. Now again, this is part of another software that Leap has. It's called Financial Stories. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to draw an arrow going into P9, the life insurance drawer. And I'm going to go through this slowly because it's important. But when a client takes $1 and makes P9 the entry point, key language there, the entry point. See, $1 can enter any drawer of the model first, correct? But if we make P9 where it enters the model first, the image I want the client has is that it creates a rippling effect throughout the model. Okay, it's kind of like throwing a rock into a pond. First ripple is right where it goes in, but eventually the ripples do what? Get bigger and bigger, and the whole pond's affected. The same thing happens here. Okay? Now, I want you to put a number 1 in the life insurance drawer because the first ripple occurs there. And I want you to write the word own, O-W-N. Whole life is something that you own. Now, why is that important? I use a little stop and ask the client, when you moved away from home and you had your first place that you lived, was it something you rented or something that you owned? What did they say? Rented. And you now live in a house, assuming that they do. Why did you make that transition? I'll ask you. and I typically get the following answers. I wanted something that I owned. I wanted something that created value, equity. I wanted something that had a fixed payment. They were tired of their rents going up. And I wanted something with tax benefits. Let's go back. I wanted something that I owned, something that grew in value, created equity, something with a fixed payment, and something with tax benefits. Well, guess what? Those same reasons are why my clients in the past have moved from term insurance to what? Life. See, what we're asking them to consider doing is something they've already done. They did it with real estate. I'm just talking about it with insurance. Does that make sense? Light bulb will go off. So ripple number one is you now have insurance that you own. Any questions on that? Ripple number two. Is you get a disability waiver of premium. So put a number 2 in the disability drawer. If we structure it properly and they have waiver of premium, then all of a sudden we have a strategy that self-completes in the event of a disability. The insurance company will put that premium in there for you. Okay? Ripple number 3. Depending on the state you live in, thankfully here in North Carolina, I don't know about Virginia, but in North Carolina you have liability protection for the death benefit and the cash value. So if you get involved in a lawsuit, doesn't mean we cancel our umbrella liability, but it's just additional protection on top of what their umbrella liability would be. Who's here from Virginia? Mark, what do you know? Death benefit only. Okay, so everybody hear that from Virginia? Okay, there's a limit to the cash value of $10,000, and the death benefit is completely protected. Okay, good. Okay, ripple number 4. There's an accelerated death benefit provision. So if there's a terminal, a chronic illness, a long-term care event, the client could spend a portion of their death benefit while they're alive to help fund that event. Again, freedom, flexibility, and control. I don't know if the client's going to do this, but it sure is nice to have that option. Ripple number 5. Because it's death benefit that will be there for your whole life, it could be used by your heirs to deal with any kind of estate taxes, estate fees. I have no idea what the future of the estate law is going to be. Credit limits bouncing all over the place. But I do know that a death benefit that's payable to the family gives them what? Flexibility, freedom, and control. The next ripple is in regards to P7, trusts. Now, like in my situation, my life insurance is payable to a trust. Why? Because Elizabeth would be the first one if she stood up here to say, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I want us to go ahead and choose someone who will invest those proceeds and simply send me a check every month. Okay? There may be situations where a trust needs to own it. I don't know, but we can make sure that it's set up the way the client wants. The next ripple is in regards to government plans. Okay? Now, an example of that would be a child who's going to college, who is looking for financial aid from the government to help pay for college. Life insurance does not count against their ability to qualify. It's one of the assets that's excluded. As an example. It also might be something that, you know what, I might delay taking my Social Security retirement benefits because the life insurance is providing income in those early years of retirement, so I can delay Wiley and get more money in the future. I'll maximize the Social Security benefits as a result of having it. Everybody got it? The next ripple is the cash value. Now we've crossed over the line into the offensive part of the model. Now the cash value is important for several reasons. One is there's a guaranteed cash value. Another reason is the cash value is your client's money.